He is Chosun's first male gisang. Every day, crowds of women come to the gibang just to see him. This is Homme Fatale, also known as Gibang Bachelor, a romantic comedy built around a strange and funny idea. What if the most popular courtesan in Joseon was a man? The story uses mistaken status, ancient social rules, and gender expectations to create plenty of comedy. But by the end, the laughter turns into something much more bittersweet. The handsome man dancing in the courtyard is Hae-sek. He grew up in a gibang. He has noble blood from a Yangban family, but he does not know who his father is. His mother died long ago, so he was raised by Madame Nansol. Hae-sek is talented in music, painting, poetry, and all the refined arts. But because of his low social status, he cannot take the civil service exam. His mother's last wish was for him to become a medical interpreter, so at least he would have a skill and a way to survive. But Hae-sek spends his days eating, drinking, flirting, and fooling around with the women of the gibang. One day, after he causes trouble again, Madame Nansol becomes so angry that she throws him out. Hae-sek is not worried at all. He thinks he can just wander outside for 3 or 4 days, wait for her anger to fade, and then return. While walking aimlessly through the streets, he passes the Hall of Virtuous Women. There, he sees widows being praised and rewarded for preserving their chastity. To Hae-sek, the scene feels ridiculous. He cannot help feeling sympathy for those women. Then, just as he is thinking about it, he hears someone nearby say that it seems many people know how absurd this place really is. He turns and sees a beautiful woman. In that instant, he is captivated. He watches her walk away and only regrets that he did not ask for her name. Later, in the woods, Hae-sek meets a naked man. Even as another man, Hae-sek can barely look directly at him. He asks why he is like this. The man says he was a Taoist practitioner in the mountains, but bandits robbed him. He does not seem too upset, saying that people come into the world with nothing and leave with nothing anyway. Still, Hae-sek cannot ignore him. He gives the man his own clothes and buys him a meal. As he looks at him, an idea suddenly forms. He brings the man back to the gibang. If a guest arrives, the gibang has no reason to refuse. So Hae-sek drinks and plays with the man inside. The man's name is Yuk-gam. The two feel that they share a similar spirit, so they imitate the legendary brotherhood of old and become sworn brothers. When Madame Nansol sees that Hae-sek still has no intention of reflecting on himself, she decides to punish him properly. Yuk-gam is dragged into the punishment too, but just then, a guest arrives. Madame Nansol has no choice but to lock Hae-sek and Yuk-gam in the woodshed first. As people keep going in and out, Hae-sek asks what is happening. The women tell him that the guest is extremely picky. She complains that the food tastes bad, that the courtesan's makeup is too heavy, and that their faces are not to her liking. Hearing this, Hae-sek asks to see Madame Nansol. He says he can satisfy the guest. After changing his clothes, he walks into the room. Strangely enough, not long after he enters, the guest orders 4 bottles of wine. Madame Nansol is curious. How did he do it? Hae-sek explains that the guest is actually a woman disguised as a man. She is a lonely widow from the Hall of Virtuous Women. Her nights are long and empty, and there are no proper places for women to drink and relax. That is why she dressed as a man and came to the gibang. The guest is Lady Yoon. The next day, she attends class at the Hall of Virtuous Women as usual. The instructor keeps preaching that women must protect their chastity and virtue. As a reward, each woman is given a small silver knife, a symbol of the so-called virtue they are expected to defend. But privately, the women are tired of these rules. When the class ends, someone notices that Lady Yoon looks glowing and refreshed. When they ask her secret, she tells them about her visit to the gibang. That night, Lady Yoon and a group of women all come to the gibang together. Now that this has happened, Hae-sek suggests adding a new service for female customers. He will become the gisang who entertains women. Most importantly, he is handsome, charming, and knows how to understand a woman's heart. Madame Nansol thinks about the gibang's current situation. Business is failing. They owe money to loan sharks. If they cannot repay the debt, the creditors will take the gibang and sell the women. So she agrees to Hae-sek's idea and promises him a share of the earnings. They quickly divide the work. Yukgam handles promotion because his strange appearance makes people less suspicious. Hyo-saek, meanwhile, proves to be extremely good at this new role. He does not simply flatter the women, he listens to them. He understands what they cannot say anywhere else. Soon, the gibang's business becomes incredibly successful. After earning money, Hyo-saek immediately takes the women of the gibang to buy jewelry. Seeing their happy faces, he smiles with quiet satisfaction. To him, these women are his family. On the way back, Hyo-saek sees a woman knocking persimmons from a tree. The sight reminds him of his childhood, when he used to pick persimmons with his mother. He walks over without thinking. Then he realizes that the woman in front of him is the beauty he has been thinking about. To satisfy his vanity, Hyo-saek lies and says Yukgam is his servant. After helping the woman pick the persimmons, he finally learns her name. She is Haewon, a noblewoman whose family has fallen into hardship. As the gibang's business grows, Yukgam asks Hyo-saek for the secret to seducing women. Does he have some special talent? Hyo-saek tells him that it is not seduction, it is communication. The women who come to the gibang are not really there for desire or sweet words. They need someone to listen. Hyo-saek spends each night listening to their worries, and in his own heart, the only person he loves is Haewon. One day, Hyo-saek and Yukgam visit a temple and meet Haewon again. Hyo-saek immediately goes up to greet her. Yukgam watches and learns. Hyo-saek says that if two people meet by chance 3 times, it must be fate. He invites Haewon to tea, but just then, another man walks out and interrupts them. Hyo-saek introduces himself, but the man has never heard of him and looks down on him at once. Then he tells Haewon that he has already spoken with the monk, and that she and her brother can stay at the temple without issue. Hyo-saek has no choice but to leave. As he watches the man ride past in a sedan chair, proud and untouchable, Hyo-saek realizes this is Yu-sung. That night, Yukgam tries to use what he has learned and speaks sweetly to Madame Nan-sol. His clumsy flirting quickly moves her heart, but because she is too proud to admit it, she pretends to be cold. Meanwhile, Hyo-saek decides he cannot lose to Yu-sung. He disguises himself as a nobleman's son, dresses in fine clothes, and appears before Haewon on a tall horse. At last, the two share tea together. During their conversation, Hyo-saek unconsciously uses the same tricks he uses on his female customers. He realizes this feels wrong and keeps correcting himself, but Haewon looks at him and smiles. Hyo-saek finally asks why she lives at the temple. Haewon explains that it is for her older brother, Dongju, who is preparing for the civil service exam. When it is time to pray, her maid comes to call her. Hyo-saek watches her leave, reluctant to say goodbye. Soon after, Yu-sung asks Dongju to give Haewon to him in marriage. The two men have known each other for years, so Dongju happily agrees. Yu-sung then warns Hyo-saek to stay away from Haewon, but Hyo-saek does not take him seriously. Back at the gibang, more and more female customers arrive. Madame Nan-sol hires several new male performers, all good-looking and talented. Hyo-saek finally has free time. He begins studying seriously for the medical interpreter exam. He also wants to give Haewon a better future. One night, Hyo-saek sees the youngest courtesan, Suk-jung, sitting alone outside her room, looking deeply sad. He walks over and sits beside her, but Suk-jung says men from outside should not come there so casually. Hyo-saek jokes that she is almost acting like one of the virtuous widows. Then he tells her to wake up. A gisang can never truly enter the hall of virtuous women. Suk-jung's eyes darken. Hyo-saek warns her not to fall too deeply in love, but Suk-jung firmly believes that the man she loves will come back for her. Unfortunately, any lie will eventually be exposed. One day, Haewon sees Hyo-saek carrying many books written in a strange foreign script. Curious, she asks about them. Hyo-saek says that far beyond Qing China, there is a distant land called Shera. The weather there is warm all year round. The land is full of mysterious fruits. No one ever goes hungry, and there are giant animals called elephants that people can ride. Haewon wonders if such a place really exists. Then she asks why a nobleman's son would prepare for a lower-level interpreter exam instead of the civil service exam. Hyo-saek suddenly wakes from his dream. The difference in status between him and Haewon is still there. He has told the lie for so long that he nearly began believing it himself. Before he can collect his thoughts, something unexpected happens. Suk-jung has been waiting for the man she loves to return for her. but that man marries another woman. His eyes are full of coldness and disgust. To him, Sukjong was nothing more than a toy he could throw away. At the same time, Yusong proposes marriage to Haewon. Haewon refuses, saying her heart already belongs to someone else. She also says she will not consider marriage until her brother succeeds. But her silence tells Yusong enough. So he orders his people to investigate Hyo-sek's background. Soon, Hyo-sek's identity as a giseng is exposed. Yusong is furious. Then tragedy strikes. In despair, Sukjong hangs herself at the Hall of Virtuous Women. When Hyo-sek and Madame Nansol arrive, all they find is her cold body. Overcome by grief and rage, Hyo-sek sets fire to the Hall of Virtuous Women. Yusong brings Haewon to the Gibang to find Hyo-sek, but he is nowhere to be seen. Then noise rises outside. Flames are lighting up the direction of the Hall of Virtuous Women. Yusong immediately brings Haewon there. Outside the burning hall, Hyo-sek is shouting at the crowd. He condemns men who keep wives and concubines while still chasing other women, then pretend to honor virtue and chastity. The people accuse him of burning the hall, but Hyo-sek is no longer afraid. When he tries to throw himself into the fire, people stop him. Not because they pity him. They believe dying like that would be too easy. They beat him instead. At that moment, Yusong and Haewon arrive. Yusong wants to kill Hyo-sek. Haewon kneels before him and begs for Hyo-sek's life. She says she was not dishonored and asks Yusong to spare him. Yusong lowers the blade and has Hyo-sek taken away. Now the officials face a difficult problem. Many wives and female relatives of powerful men were Hyo-sek's customers. If the matter grows too large, it will embarrass everyone. So the officials gather and decide to make the problem disappear quietly. Meanwhile, to stop Yusong from harming Hyo-sek any further, Haewon agrees to marry him. The night before the wedding, she cannot sleep. She goes to the prison to see Hyo-sek one last time. Haewon says what she cannot forgive is not his status, but the fact that he hid the truth from her. Hyo-sek turns away. Because the gap between them is too large, he says something he does not mean. He says he is exactly the kind of man who uses sweet words to manipulate women. Haewon breaks down in tears, but she still asks him one final question. Did he ever love her? Hyo-sek says he is a man who has never known how to love anyone. At last, Haewon's heart dies. She leaves. Only after she turns away does Hyo-sek collapse into tears. Yukam and Madame Nansol bribe the guards and rescue Hyo-sek. As they prepare to leave by boat, Hyo-sek suddenly stops. He kneels before Madame Nansol, thanking her for raising him. After this farewell, they may never meet again. Years pass. Hyo-sek is now an old man with gray hair. He lives in a small house in the mountains. His room is filled with paintings of the life he once imagined with Haewon. One day, a young girl comes to visit. Looking at the paintings on the wall, she becomes curious. So Hyo-sek tells her his story. When the girl leaves, an old woman is waiting at the foot of the mountain. That woman is Haewon. The girl tells Haewon that Hyo-sek is healthy and talkative. Then Haewon sees the painting in the girl's hands. When she opens it, she realizes it is a portrait of her younger self. The girl says Hyo-sek taught her the meaning of a word in his imaginary foreign language. Haewon begins to cry. All these years later, she finally understands. What Hyo-sek once told her was not a joke. It meant she was beautiful. Some loves are so difficult to say out loud. Haewon looks toward the mountain. At the same time, Hyo-sek looks down from above. The feelings and regrets of their past are so close, yet still unspoken. And the story freezes there. Homme Fatale wraps heavy social questions inside the shell of a light historical comedy. Through Hyo-sek, the first male giseng, the film tears open the hypocritical rules of a feudal world. On one side, the noble class praises chastity and virtue, turning the Hall of Virtuous Women into a cage that controls women's freedom and lives. On the other side, powerful men privately enjoy pleasure while demanding purity from everyone else. Sukjong's fate repeats the kind of tragedy that also shaped Hyo-sek's mother's life. They are victims of a system that uses morality as a weapon. The film is clever because it does not give Hyo-sek and Haewon a perfect ending. ending. Even though the tone is often funny, a happy ending would not truly fit the world they live in. Instead, the film lets the audience laugh, then leaves them with the weight of the era. On the surface, this is a romantic comedy about a beautiful male courtesan. Underneath, it is a story about human dignity, social class, gender, and the cruelty of rules that were never fair to begin with. In a world ruled by status, even the most sincere feelings can be crushed easily, and that is why equality and respect are so precious. That's all for today's movie recap. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like, comment, and share. I'll see you in the next one.